Vorkath, the new boss, releases next month, and so I thought, you know what, why not make a video now to help you guys get prepared for when the boss releases. I want to prepare my account for when the boss releases because that's when there is most opportunity to make as much money as possible, and also it's really exciting to be able to take on a boss on release day. So in this video, we're going to go through the things that I plan on doing, and I would suggest other people plan on doing as well to be ready for Vorkath release. This video will be time-stamped out, as some people won't need everything in here, as there's going to be some stuff for the lower level players as well to focus on. So keep that in mind, and other than that, let's go. Now, the first thing you're going to have to make sure you have done is ensure you have the quest requirements that this boss is going to have completed. This means you're going to have the entire 4th Foren 3 quest line up to date, all the way until the Ancient Awakening quest, which was the most recent release for the game. So to be able to complete this, you're going to need to have Dead and Buried done, Unwelcome Guest done, and Murder on the Border done as well, so all the previous stuff in the actual 4th Foren 3 questline. Once you've got Ancient Awakening done, as far as we're aware, this is the requirements to be able to actually fight Vorkath. You're going to need this to access the island for Vorkath, so make sure you do have this bit ticked off. The next thing you're probably going to want to look at is gearing ready for this boss. Now, with Necromancy releasing, I can only imagine that this boss is going to be much better to defeat with Necromancy. I can't imagine Jagex now being like, lol, let's make everybody swap back to magic or range now. That'll be hilarious, right? No, there's a good chance that Necromancy will just still be by far the best combat style to use here, as this is still a part of the Necromancy storyline now, so this will definitely ring true. What I will suggest you guys aim for gear-wise is probably tier 90 Necromancy gear to be safe. You would probably be able to get away with a little bit less, but I would suggest if you want to be prepared and ready for this, try and get your hands on tier 90 power armor or tank armor. Either or works probably. In fact, on a release day, tank gear usually works kind of a little bit better, seeing as you're not really worried about kill times and you're more worried about getting through the kill. So if you do have the option to have either both, or if you're just looking at just wanting to get some kills, tank gear might be the option for you. But having the tier 90 gear will absolutely be enough. There's no way Jagex are going to release a boss that requires you to have tier 95 gear. Of course, anything better, any bigger upgrades gear-wise is going to be better for yourself, but there's no way you're going to need anything more than tier 90. I wouldn't think you'd even need tier 90 gear, but it'll just put you in a really good position to begin with. Even if you can't quite afford the tier 90 sets, maybe work on getting the tier 90 weapons, and then maybe like tier 80 with the armor or anything along those lines. But having those weapons will definitely make a big difference. But again, if you're someone who is just purely focused on getting kills, if you're a lower level PvMer, you're just getting into PvM, and maybe you find it easier to be able to tank more stuff up or deal with the damage reduction and all that sort of stuff, then the tank gear could definitely be the option to go. Both sets of Necromancy gear, the tank armor and the power armor at level 90, do both have a pretty similar crafting cost with the actual subjugation pieces and whatnot, and total cost to be able to make it. It's just that one uses the hermit plates and the other one doesn't. So this is definitely something to keep in mind, but if you just weigh up the thing. Do you want to have the tank gear, make it a bit easier to get through the kill probably, or do you want to have the DPS gear and get faster kills? Is likely your options there. As for the players who do have a lot of money and you are wanting to be fully prepared for this boss, don't forget to, 1, grab your tier 95 Necromancer gear if you have the GP for it, but 2, also remember to grab an Essence of Finality, put the tier 90 spec in there, or the tier 70 weapon spec in there, and then it will scale up. And of course, having the Zuk cape as well for Necromancy is going to be a pretty big deal. So, moving on, we do know that Vorkath is a undead dragon. He is a dragon, but he is also undead. So we don't know whether we're going to be able to use that fact to increase our damage against him in terms of perks or in terms of the Slayer ability codexes. However, it is probably worth keeping in mind these things if you are looking to be fully prepared. These are pretty expensive to get your hands on. The perks, maybe not as much, but the ability codexes definitely are. However, it is still worth talking about these because for the people who do just want to be prepared and have loads of money, it is probably worth making sure you do have a set of gear or even just a gizmo ready for these perks to be available, just to assume that they are going to be usable. We don't know if they are going to be usable. We don't know if it's just going to be that, no, yes, he's an undead dragon, but they're not going to work, because we don't want you to just absolutely DPS like crazy through them. And let's be honest, there's a big GP wall there if they do decide to make them possible. For example, if they decide to make it so that both the ability codexes work and the perks work, so the Dragon Slayer ability codex and the perk, and the Undead Slayer ability codex and the perk, and then the Salve Amulet E as well, this is going to be a massive thing that they have to consider if they don't want the boss to just get blown up in seconds because of the increase in DPS, which means they make the boss more difficult, and then any players who can't afford those codexes in the first place are limited on a lot of GP. Considering the fact that at Racial right now, the Undead ability codex is super popular and the price has gone pretty damn high. So they may allow us to use them, they may not allow us to use them, but for those of you that do want to be very prepared, I personally am going to make sure that I have perks available for Undead Slayer and Dragon Slayer. And then of course I already have my codexes ready for those. Like I already have Undead Slayer ability, I already have the Dragon Slayer ability as well. So that's not that big of a worry. The other thing is the Salve Amulet E, which again increases your damage against undead. I'm just going to clarify this one more time. I do not know, and we do not know, if these will work at all. This is just for the super prepared who want to make sure to have everything possible ready on launch, ready to go. So I don't want anybody to splash out their entire bank buying the Undead Ability Codex and then on release go, and it doesn't even work and you said to get it. No, this is a gamble. It's either you get it now or you wait and see what happens. Finally, on the list of things to buy or spend some time making is going to be PvM supplies. Now, of course, when bosses release, PvM supplies go through the roof. So if this boss is going to be very popular and it is going to be in high demand, then PvM supplies are going to go up, especially the ones that are relevant for him. Now, I took a look at the old school RuneScape wiki for Vorkath just to get an idea of what possibly could happen with ours, because it's the same boss, so the idea is there. Now, this doesn't again confirm anything, and it is all just theory and things that you might want to keep in mind, but the Vorkath is a dragon and he does use dragon fire as well, so anti-fire potions, super anti-fire potions probably are going to be in demand if he does release with that style as well in RuneScape 3. I'm just going to assume that he probably will. It would make total sense if so. So maybe consider stocking up on some super anti-fire stuff as well. Or if you're an Iron Man, you maybe want to get crafting them. And here's your reminder as well that super anti-fires are now a tradable potion, so you can buy them on the GE for you main accounts. Next up is that Vorkath on old school RuneScape also has a poison attack or a venom attack as well, meaning that anti-poisons or anything like that is going to be probably another thing you might want to just grab your hands on, just to have in your bank ready just in case it's needed. Now again, these aren't that expensive and you're going to be able to buy them on the day anyway if you want to, but just for those people who want to be mega prepared and maybe don't want to pay a premium in case they jump up a little bit when it gets released, you might want to grab a few of those in advance as well. Again, this is all just theory. Looking at the old school version doesn't mean that ours is going to be the exact same or in any way similar whatsoever, but if in RuneScape lore or whatever, Vorkath is a dragon that uses dragon fire and uses poison attacks as well, there's a good chance that we're going to see similar mechanics in RuneScape 3 too. Now, alongside these, of course, when Racial released, we saw insane amounts of increase to things like supplies for brews and blubber jellyfish and all these sort of things, Reaver Scrolls, anything like that. So maybe stock up on anything that you think you may want to have as well in terms of food and other supplies like vulnerability bombs, any runes to cast like any spells like smoke cloud and whatnot, and just anything that you would normally take along the way. Prayer potions, super restores, spiritual prayer potions, all of these sort of things, incense sticks and whatnot. The prices of them likely will go up slightly on release of Vorkath because, you know, everybody's going to kill the new boss, and anything that is very much needed is going to go up by quite a bit. So if you can get ahead of the curve, then great stuff, right? So finally, for people who are just getting into PvM or would like to think what can I do otherwise now to actually be prepared a little bit better? And as a beginner PvMer or someone who's not done a ton of stuff, what can I focus on now to be able to prepare myself ready for Vorkath release? Well, I would suggest, of all things, practice the regular necromancy DPS rotation and just kind of learn how that feels, commit it to memory a little bit. And what I'm talking about is the living death rotation. This is used in almost every boss in RuneScape right now, and I can imagine that Jagex maybe have done something to disrupt it a little bit, but the baseline will probably still be pretty much the same for at least some part of the fight. Now, I could be completely off on this again, but this is all theory. The boss isn't out yet, and this is something that if you haven't got this committed to memory, if you haven't got this down, then I would probably suggest you try and do. One, it's going to benefit you everywhere in the game anyway, but two, when the boss does release, if there is any sort of like rotation that I would expect you guys to use, is probably going to be this one. So I will have a video linked in the description for my DPS guide for necromancy, and I'll have the actual rotation in there that you can go through and go, like, learn the living death rotation there. Again, this is used at every single boss right now in RuneScape, so it's worth learning even if it doesn't really get much use at Vorkath on release. But it's probably, if you don't have it ready, like committed to memory and whatnot, it's definitely worth learning because there's a good chance you're going to use it there too. So those are the things that I personally plan on doing to prepare for Vorkath. I'm going to make sure I've got my gear, my quests, my perks, the ability codexes, the DPS rotation, and any supplies that may be relevant as well, all ready in the bank for that launch date. You've got a while yet. It's not coming out till next month, so you've got a good amount of time to get yourself prepared and ready for this. That being said, if anybody can think of anything else that is worth grabbing and preparing for in advance, leave them in the comments down below. It would be very much appreciated. People can scroll through and have a read and go, that's a good idea, and then also I'll grab it myself as well. But otherwise, guys, thank you all so much for watching. I hope it was helpful for you to have this as like a little checklist. And other than that, I'll catch you all in the next one. See you later, guys. Bye.